Peace. I just wanted to take a moment and build briefly about the Brexit, which is spelled Brexit. And it was a referendum in the UK where the citizens voted to no longer be a part of the EU. And the EU is the European Union. I wanted to just elaborate a little bit more on what that actually means and then how it also affects everyday people and the global economy. One of the things to keep in mind is when you look at the EU or the European Union, that was started to get countries primarily in Europe to buy into having a unified economy. So back when you saw the creation of the euro and you seen other, people, even artists and stuff, rappers and stuff talking about they got euros and all this other stuff, that was the main currency of the European Union. So you had these various different European countries that came together to create an economy that was governed by the euro, and it also made it easier for them to do trading amongst each other. So if you lived in Ireland or Scotland or the UK until it's no longer part of the EU, but you can travel from one country to the next and not have the same kind of restrictions that you would have if you went to other different countries that weren't a part of that union. So you didn't need visas in order to go from one country to the next, or other different things that are restrictions when it comes to other different countries. So it was considered a good thing. And to some people, they still may see the EU or the European Union as a good thing. But anyway, recently, the UK, the citizens voted to no longer be a part of the European Union. And what ended up happening is it introduced doubt and uncertainty, not only in the union itself, but also the standard form of currency that governs the union, which is the euro. So if you checked out any of the different global markets, you saw a plummet not only in the euro, but you saw other different stocks being affected simply because the UK walked out of the European Union or the EU. And that's no different than if you're working at a company and you get a core group of people who work there that no longer wanted to be a part of the union. That will affect and create ripples not only throughout that company, but also the other companies that do business with the company that you work at. So imagine how that is going to affect those core group of members that no longer want to be a part of the union. That's going to have an effect on them because they're going to be considered outsiders. It's also going to affect those employees that come there to work that want to remain a part of that union. So in other words, you have citizens that may be from Scotland or Ireland or whatever that come to the UK to work. And because the citizens in the UK are no longer a part of the EU or the European Union, that's also going to affect their relationship with people who come there just to work. So going back to what I just said, it's no different than working at a company and you have a core group of people that say, yo, I don't want to be a part of the union no more. It's going to affect them. It's also going to affect people who come there to work that want to remain a part of the union. It's going to affect the company as a whole, because now they're looking at it like, damn, I mean, y'all just introduced a whole bunch of doubt and uncertainty in the union's ability to properly represent the people. Then that will also affect other companies that do business with that company, because they're going to be looking at it like, damn, they not happy? I'm not really sure or certain whether I should be investing or trading or doing certain type of business with you, because you're not even keeping your own people happy. So this is what we are starting to see with the UK walking out of the European Union, which is also going to force other companies or other countries to consider their relationship to the European Union. Should they step outside of it? Because imagine you got a country like Scotland that has been, they have a lot of companies in their country that is representing the euro. And that shit just plummeted because of the UK stepping outside of the EU. You know what I'm saying? That affects their whole economy as a country. The same thing you see happening. I live on the border to southern Ontario. That's where Atlantis is. That's where Niagara Falls, New York is. just in the last week, the exchange rate and currency in Canada right now, for every dollar that is American, I can walk right over the border to Canada and it becomes $1.29. If I had $1,000 in American, I could walk right over the border and get 1,200, almost 1,300 Canadian off of that American money, because the American dollar has become stronger currency now, simply because of Europe or the UK's ripple effect with walking out of the EU. It has essentially destabilized economies, not just with those countries that utilize the euro, but any of these other countries that do business with the UK and that do business with any of these other countries that's a part of the EU. So what ends up happening is you have, for example, the province of Ontario. They get a lot of exports and they import stuff from the UK. Because they're no longer part of the EU, that's going to affect the price of their commodities and whether or not they want to import or export, which means it also lessens the Canadian dollar. And because I live on this foreign border, their money is worth less right now. So either they're going to come over to this border and try to dump it, or if we're smart, we're going to go over to the Canadian side and invest in things that our money has much more power to be able to invest in, because you have that exchange rate shift that just happened. And that's just dealing with the border between America and Canada. This same thing is going on all throughout the world. So I just want to encourage those of you to keep abreast of what's going on and how this is affecting the global market, because it puts you in a position where you can positively invest in what's going on right now and put yourself in a better position. But if you're not aware, you can put yourself in a position that is less empowering in terms of economic stability. So I will, this was inspiring, empowering, it was educating, and gave those of you a little bit more insight on the Brexit or the UK leaving the European Union or the EU. And then another thing I wanted to say is 5%ers, one of the things that we teach in our fourth or our culture degree in 114s is EU means hillsides. And a hillside is nothing more than a sloping hill. So with this Brexit, it's effectively created an economic slope in terms of the global market and the value of the euro. And it's a very important time for us to be able to invest in certain things that will put us in a better position, as opposed to going along with this slope and being in a position that is not empowering. So thanks for checking it out, and go check it out yourself. Do some more research on the Brexit and see how it is affecting everything else around you. Peace.